All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 77 of the Hideout. We're going to be talking about Web3 gaming and the Metaverse. We have a few more speakers that we are waiting to jump in. We think there may be some technical difficulties there. So bear with us as we get them in and try to get everything started. Hopefully this is not another Twitter edition of the rug pull. But nevertheless, we will move forward and start with introductions. We have at least one of our speakers here, so excited to get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Frontera. I am one of the co-founders of Apollo Entertainment, the company behind Satoshiverse and the Legions 2029 game. For those who haven't heard of Legions 2029 and those that will be joining us a little bit later, either on the recorded version, Legions 2029 is a fast-paced hack and slash hybrid. It takes kind of the combat elements of hack and slash games, puts them into a high-fidelity PC game inspired by God of War, and then mixes in some of the familiar RPG elements that we see in games like Diablo and World of Warcraft, all with a roguelike gameplay loop. So kind of a unique experience, very fast-paced game, completely free to play, and we have tons of things that you can earn during this season. So if you have not already, definitely check out the pinned tweet at the top of the spaces. Also, if you could just go over to the first pinned tweet that I put up there, give that a repost if you can. Follow the Hideout account. At the end of this spaces, those who are still here who have reposted that tweet at the top are going to be eligible to win some Satoshi's crystals. So definitely get that retweeted if you're here and listening so that you have a shot to win the giveaway at the end. But without further ado, what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be introducing our guests, and then we will be jumping in to some of the questions. If for some reason we can't get the full panel of guests on, we'll proceed anyways, and it'll just be a fun chat between ourselves and our friends over at Chainstack who made it on time and are here. So let's jump over to you guys. Can you guys give us an introduction of what you're building? Feel free to post anything to the top of the spaces that you think would be illustrative or helpful. We're here to listen. Let's welcome.
Hey, thanks for thanks for doing the space. And God of War is actually one of my favorite games. The other ones. Anyway, my name is Ake. That's AKE. I'm with the Chainstack developer experience team. And at Chainstack, what we do is the Web3 infrastructure, which, the easiest explanation of this, or basically what we do, is RPC nodes. And we are powering the Web3 because you need to have the nodes to be able to access the blockchain network, right? Including the gaming projects, and that's what we do because developers, we want developers to focus on building the actual games, whether they are on chain or off chain or a mix or a hybrid, where they have some of the assets on the chain and the rest of the game is off the chain. You need the blockchain access for all of this, and we are providing sophisticated infrastructure for this. We're currently supporting about 20 plus different protocols. We are rolling out new protocols almost every other week. We rolled out Blast today, for example, the Blast protocol. And we've been doing this for about 6 years now. And myself, I've been doing Web3 full-time for about 7 years. It's just full-time alone. And I do love seeing where Web3 goes from here in the gaming space as well. So that's us.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that great introduction. It's interesting, and we talk a lot about this, and we have some infrastructure providers come on this show, and I think one of the things I've seen personally, and I'll just give you a little bit more context. I got into the space back in 2017. I was working as an intellectual property and entertainment attorney for about 6 years before that, and for me, gaming was really going to be the funnel through which a lot of people entered. But I think one of the toughest challenges since entering the space and working for a company called Game Credits, which is a very early gaming cryptocurrency company, is that the infrastructure was lacking, right? We had these awesome protocols that could do, the basics of DeFi pretty well. But even then, I remember, early NFT days, trying to do transactions and seeing the throughput and just being like, this is never going to work for gaming, right? And the costs and everything. And so, in the last 2 years, we've seen these protocols kind of really start to focus on gaming, and we've seen some of the benefits of that. Interestingly enough, I think much of the progress has, we've seen a lot of development on the protocol side, layer 2s, layer 3s, dedicated blockchain. But we've also seen a lot of solutions on, wallet management and things like that. And I think the common theme has been kind of this trade-off between classic kind of maximalist decentralization, right? And the efficiency, right? And this idea that we can land somewhere in the middle on this spectrum and, encourage users to come in and really smooth out the user experience by not going to the deep end of the decentralization spectrum and instead realizing that it is a spectrum and falling somewhere in between. And so I always like to kind of probe a little deeper with infrastructure providers and understand kind of how you're thinking about kind of this trade-off, right, between security and decentralization and ease of use and real adoption and user onboarding. So I'd be really interested, before we jump in a little bit deeper, to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, this is a very good point, and the again, if we're in no rush, a little bit of background. Again, I'm currently located in Vietnam. I'm currently in Southeast Asia, and I've been to a few events in this region in the past couple of months. One of them was East Vietnam in Hanoi, where there was a few gaming projects, but there was a lot of gaming, gamify talking there, and Vitalik actually visited this event as well. And then I went to Bangkok for there was a few events. One of them again was pretty heavy presence of gaming projects. And what I noticed is so what I noticed is there is this the gaming industry, or Web2 to Web3 gaming transition, seems to be this sort of a blue ocean right now, where there is a lot of different entities like Web3 gaming studios or L2 protocols in the Web3 gaming, and the kind of Web2 Web3 gaming publishing studios, which will compete. It looks like they will compete in the future, but currently they seem to be working together on bringing or bridging over these kind of blue ocean enormous user base in games and all this stuff from Web2 to Web3. And the gaming studios themselves, or game developers themselves, they also want to access these or see what access the or tap into what's going in there in Web3, which is not too transparent to them yet, I think. But it does look like a lot of projects want to move or at least explore the Web3 part of gaming. And from my perspective, since I agree completely with you. This is like 100%. I agree with you. And I've been through this as well, which is, when you mentioned when you joined, there was a little kind of sort of maximalism going on where everything needs to be on chain, which is very, very heavy on the in blockchain in general might not be, the best part, the best. The concept of blockchain probably not the best thing to be doing all of this stuff on chain. You might want to put all the most valuable things on chain and do the rest of the stuff like a decent game, for example, right? Off chain because it needs a lot of input output operations, IOPS. And but when it started, and even if we don't go as far, or if we go back maybe 2 or 3 years ago, previous bull run, there was quite a bit of games trying to do most of this, or as much as possible, the stuff on chain in spinning up kind of, separate application specific blockchain networks, like Avalanche, Subnets, Polygon Edge, I believe, at the time was there as well. And the idea was that the Ethereum mainnet, the rollups that you have, you're going to keep them as this sort of shared, if we would, shared server, if we speak Web2 terms, and the application specific blockchain networks are going to be the dedicated servers kind of thing where you can run dedicated games. I think we've seen this with the guys like Shrapnel, DFK, just Krabada, I believe, was there as well, running on Avalanche subnet as well. But I think at some point or where we are today, and I'd be curious to hear, what you say on this as well. But where we are today and what I'm seeing today is, and what I've seen a lot of the, in the events that I went to recently, is game first. So it used to be on-chain first, but now it seems to be game first. So the gaming studios, the game developers, or basically the gamify, they say, hey, we want to deliver the best gaming experience first, and then we're going to introduce the Web3 part, which is going to be assets, and they're going to have, fungible tokens, non-fungible tokens in there. Some of them have 5 different assets in there that you can truly own, and then maybe there's going to be some sort of gamify ecosystem in there, similar to DeFi, where you can swap the assets in all this stuff. But they all seem to be doing the games first today, which I kind of agree, right? And I think this is kind of the natural progression of all the things. Because in blockchain, outside of gaming, in blockchain, we've seen similar things. If you go back to 2017, we used to have blockchain network like EOS. I'm sure you remember this, which used which used to say decentralize everything. If you went to their website, I think the company behind this was Block One. If you went to the Block One website, their slogan there on the website was decentralize everything, and that went away, right? And similar thing happened with gaming, which is really interesting. But yeah, today looks like it's have the best gaming experience possible first, and have the Web3 part later. That's what I'm saying. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think that there are some caveats to that, right? And I generally, this is another topic that comes up a lot, and it's something that we had very front of mind when we were building our game. I've always believed in that spectrum, right? In the idea that decentralizing everything may not be the correct method, but I also kind of came from a place like a legal background, right? And so, beyond just the practical implications and the onboarding and the UI and all the user experience type of implications of either including blockchain assets or not including blockchain assets, there's a lot of multi-jurisdictional legal ramifications to the ownership aspects of including blockchain assets and what it means to deploy a game with real money elements and what that's going to mean for example, your ESRB ratings or, a lot of the things that as a industry, we're still really trying to nail down and the regulators, frankly, haven't given us good insight on, right? So I do think that it's interesting because as a general principle, I agree. It should be game first, decentralized later. I think every game needs to be thinking about the game experience, and it shouldn't necessarily be with probably a few notable exceptions. It shouldn't be the blockchain elements that are distinguishing that game from other games from like a playability or a fun standpoint. I say with a few notable exceptions, just because there's a few genres of games, most notably, I think these skill-based wagering games. Some of there's a few examples of shooters now, for example, that you bet one of the cryptocurrency and the winner takes all, or you get one per kill. I'm not quite sure that would be possible without kind of crypto and a peer-to-peer exchange in a lot of jurisdictions, at least, because you would be custodying those assets and get yourself into a whole world of, complex regulation. So I do think that some new genres have already emerged just from the fact that they are crypto-based, games or have this peer-to-peer interaction. That said, I mean, when you're looking at most genres, I think it depends on the game. For example, I think skins, it's really easy to say, let's build a great game first. Let's think about aesthetics within that game. And then when we're ready and the tech's there and the infrastructure's there and we have a user base, let's introduce aesthetic NFTs. Great. I think that's easy. I think it's low-hanging fruit. I think it's something that a lot of games could do if they wanted to. Of course, you still have some legal hurdles. You still have, the uncertainty. But I think generally speaking, from a game design perspective, you can do, some things with aesthetics that are relatively straightforward. I think where we start to have a challenge, and one of the things that we worked very hard on, from the beginning, was how do you build a game that has NFTs that represent progressive elements within the game, right? How do you have NFTs actually store your progress within the game and not create a pay-to-win type of scenario? And I think that is where the biggest design challenges come in from like a real money gaming perspective, is that, we've seen games like Diablo 3 have real issues when they try to introduce real money elements to their items with farming, with, devaluation of items, with really breaking kind of the fun game loop of looting, and going and doing boss runs and all the stuff that made, for example, Diablo 2 very special. A lot of people, not including myself, I actually enjoyed it, but a lot of people got very upset with the Diablo 3 experience in that, the best items in the game were only a few bucks because they got farmed, like crazy, and that was an issue. And so I think when you look at that and you're kind of starting from the purpose of, okay, we know we're going to have items that are valuable within our game that have like a progressive element to them, and they're going to be NFTs, that you're implementing a real money type of situation, which means you have to, from day one, you have to design the game to take that into account. And so we did a lot of things in our game that actually probably simplified the item progression more than we would have liked, but we felt that it was the only way to really at least create a good starting point for a sustainable real money type of system around those items. And so we really made it all about progression and less about rarity giving you an advantage, and kind of took away some of the incentives to farm, and did a lot of things in that front. And so I guess I think you're right. I think that the goal needs to be to build great gaming experiences that players want to play. But I think that when and if game developers decide to integrate blockchain, they have to do so very deliberately and with a real plan on all aspects, right? So I guess I'm gonna go over to Spencer so that he can give an introduction and get us started. It looks like we may have had, this is actually the first time in 77 episodes that we've had two guests no show for the same space. So we'll have to see what happened there. I'm not quite sure, but that means that you and I are going to get, and Spencer are going to have a really in-depth discussion, and we'll make sure that the content is just as good. But Spencer, why don't you give us your intro, and then we can jump into at least some of the questions and get started. Uh-oh, now I'm really worried. I can't hear Spencer. Spencer, are you there? Spencer, come in. Check. Looks like it might be some technical issues on Spencer's side. I think it might be because we have him as a co-host. So I'm going to take him off the co-host and just make him a normal speaker. Oh man, I think maybe Apple decided to fire back at Elon after,
There we go.
Elon
Can you hear me
says
now?
no, yeah, we can hear you now. I'm talking about, Elon goes and says, yeah, we're going to have Apple devices in Faraday bags if you come to Tesla. And I think Apple might have said, hey, how about those iPhones on Twitter Spaces? What are you going to do about that? And so hopefully that's not it. Because I'm looking at my iPhone, I'm like, uh-oh, my Siri got smarter, and now my Twitter Spaces are going to get rugged since they're listening to us. So anyways, I'm glad we can hear you now, loud and clear. So go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I got stuck in a loop of requesting or saying that I was requesting to speak, but not letting me actually unmute. So anyway, we got it. We're here. What's going on, everyone? My name is Spencer Vogel. I'm the business development manager at Satoshiverse and Apollo Entertainment. Space today obviously is a little non-traditional, but either way, we're still doing our giveaway like we do every week. So in order to enter our giveaway, we have a tweet that we pinned to the top that says "We're live." All you have to do is retweet or repost that, re-exit, whatever it is. And then at the end of the space, if you've done that and you're still here, then you're going to be eligible to win 5 Satoshi's crystals, which is one of our main in-game resources. And then in terms of format, we're going to go through a couple questions here. Probably won't get to all the ones that we had planned, but that is A-okay. So I guess we'll start with the first group question for the three of us. And maybe Nick, you could start us off on this one. So how do you perceive the current state of the Metaverse and Web3 gaming industry, and what significant changes have you observed in the past year?
Wow. Okay. So we have 30 minutes left. I'll try not to take all 30 minutes. No, I'm kidding. The metaverse space, is an interesting one. If you asked me a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, gosh, I can't even judge time anymore, when we saw, Facebook change their name to Meta, billions getting invested in the space, it really felt like, Apple Vision Pro coming out, that we were on the cusp of just like a sprint towards, fully digital metaverse, all these things, right off the backs of COVID. People are interacting with the digital space much more frequently, at least in our world. We saw that a ton. And I think, we saw this rapid development. And so, of course, we were excited and have been excited as a studio that works on metaverse experiences and gaming experiences for this kind of flooding in. And I think what we saw, over the past year is a little bit of a general cooling off, right? I think what we saw is that, first and foremost, the hardware is not there yet. I think the Apple Vision Pro, for all of its value and the things that it will eventually be to this space, fell quite a bit short of, I think, what a lot of people were hoping Apple would release as their first, quote unquote metaverse product. When really, I think, our phones are metaverse products, and my kind of conception of the metaverse goes a little bit deeper. But when Apple, was going to release a hybrid AR VR product, it was really, interesting to see what that would become. And you can see that they're still pushing it forward. There's a lot of traction behind what's going into their long-term vision. But, when you release something that looks and feels like the Apple Vision Pro, it's probably not going to be generally used for AR outside, of the household. Although if you go to the conventions that I do, there's always a few people kind of walking around, with their Apple Vision Pros on. And I tried one the other day, and I don't know how people don't walk into things constantly. Cause yeah, there's a lot going on there. But I guess kind of going back to the question, the biggest drivers of metaverse are going to be people, right? Like, what value do people bring when it comes to metaverse? And, what are the things that people, meaning, is it going to be users, right? Is it going to be users who are asking for new experiences, or is it going to be the creatives of this world kind of thinking about, okay, how do we push the envelope here, right? And so we've started to see, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this in the next year. We've started to see creatives push the envelope. We've started to see new instances of experiences. For example, we saw, the Assassin's Creed VR experience as a game that was really built for the headsets, and putting some of the nausea that comes with playing with these games aside, we saw a real product that really gave me a little bit of hope that we would see something awesome, that next iteration would be really cool. We're still seeing rapid development of metaverse platforms. We're starting to see lots of, decentralized metaverse platforms. The other day we had Cornucopias on here, and they are doing a great job of creating an interesting gamified metaverse experience, which is kind of where we land in terms of what we think the metaverse is going to be. We're looking at not just a place where you can go and build a house and hang out with your friends, but gamified experiences that you can experience together with people, and really, try to push what is possible in the physical space. And I think that that's going to be kind of the next iteration of the metaverse. And really what causes it to catch on is the hybridization of physical and digital, right? I think when we start to talk about metaverse, I think a lot of people think VR. But when I think about metaverse, I think AR is going to be really our introduction to digital in a meaningful way, because I think that people are going to want to have those typical experiences that are familiar to them, but AR is only going to enhance those experiences, at least in theory, right? We can think about the cluttered world of digital advertisements and stuff popping up that might also come with that. But in theory, if you're able to go through your life and have that experience augmented by digital art, by, turn-by-turn directions, by offers, by, deeper understandings of things, the ability to process things in real time, I think that we're going to see some major advancements on that front. And actually, I'm glad we got over the reality on stage, because you guys specialize in what I was just talking about. And I really think that this is how the metaverse grows. So if you don't mind, happy to have you on space. Could you give us a quick introduction and maybe take a shot at this question as well?
Hey guys. It's good to be here again. I always love talking about Web3 gaming and the Metaverse. So this is at Digital Fam, taking over the over account. I'm just down there in the yellow. I'll shoot off some hearts or something. Yes. So over the reality, basically, our purpose is to augment the real world with AR. And our platform, we consider it a spatial platform. We literally are digitally layered over the physical world. And we've divided that into about 1.6 trillion hexagons or overlands, as you would say, or as we would call it. And these overlands are actually metaverse, like virtual land that you can own. Now, one of the reasons why you would want to own these lands, not just for, I won't like opportunity and sake. This is not financial advice or anything, so I'm just saying, is because with these overlands, they're literally, they are geolocated over a physical location. And I know that people always ask us, well, who are your competitors? Like Google's been around forever. They've mapped the world, and then now Niantic, and then there's like all that other stuff. And I'm like, and we always say, well, we don't consider them competitors. Of course, Google has the, I guess, the monopoly on these type of 3D mapping, but we're doing it differently. What we're doing is we're not using GPS, as you know, and if you don't know, GPS doesn't really provide precision when it comes to placing a 3D asset over a specific location in the real world. We use VPS, Visual Positioning System, and with the help of AI and Gaussian splatting, people can map the world in 3D. And yeah, so when you talk about metaverse gaming, we think that this is really interesting in terms of the augmented reality space. Now, personally, me, Digital Femme, I agree with you what you said. I think Nick, right behind Satoshi Verse, where the technology isn't there yet, and will it ever evolve to that where we will really have true metaverse Web3 gaming? Sure, why not? Well, what's that exactly going to look like? We don't know yet. We don't know until we know. But the great thing is we're all part of, I guess, building things out and having these conversations. So again, back to over the reality and our ubiquitous metaverse, because you guys are all in it, you're just not aware of it. The portal to access the over metaverse is really through your mobile phones with our app, and pretty soon, well, I don't know how soon, but with these AR devices coming on board, we're definitely looking to integrate each AR, not each, but the AR devices that would make sense. Now, this 3D mapping thing, when you map a physical location, you are getting the data of that location, every bit of it. And why is that important when it comes to metaverse gaming and augmented reality and digital twins and merging the physical and digital? It's important because when you want to create, let's say, a environment on Unity or Unreal Engine, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work to create a real life location and replicate it in Unity or a 3D modeling. But when you have something like over the reality, when you use the Gaussian splatting data and you literally take thousands or hundreds and hundreds of photos of a physical location, you can use that environment or that data within a game. And the great thing is we just released the ability to put in an AR asset or a 3D asset within that over map. I think I'm talking too much here, but am I even answering your question? What was the question?
No, that was a good answer, and that's why I wanted the introduction fit perfectly, because we were talking about kind of how the metaverse has expanded over the last year and where it's going. And you know, my thought, just kind of like what you're saying, is that the first real expansion of the metaverse is going to be this cross section between digital and the physical space. Sorry, I can't talk today. And I think that, it'll be interesting to see. I think we do have a lot of work to do. Um, Again, I always go back to the legal side. When we start to talk about, land ownership and incentivization and, how these different AR overlays are going to work in real time and who owns what where, right? Like, I think so much of that has not yet been decided. And I think platforms that are early movers are going to have to be very, very agile, and keeping a close watch on, how different jurisdictions treat use of AR within a particular place. And I think what we're going to end up having is kind of a smorgasbord of different laws that apply to different jurisdictions. So that, I'm sure, will be a very fun challenge for your team and your lawyers, going into the deep future. But for now, I think it's very exciting. I've only seen a couple projects doing kind of real world overlays, and I think that's where all the action's going to be. I mean, we saw what happened even with Pokemon Go, which was, the combination of a beloved IP and a concept that really made sense, right? And got people out of their houses and got people, in the real world with their friends. I think that, when we see what that could extend to become, when AR is seamlessly integrated into a pair of, glasses or even contact lenses or some sort of laser overlay. I think when we get to that point, and, I've already seen prototypes, as I'm sure you have, being in the space, that are really several years ahead of what we're seeing right now with, the Ray-Ban Meta glasses or the Apple Vision Pro. Some really cool stuff is in the pipeline and getting developed and getting major funding behind it. So I mean, I think we're going to see that, and I think that's kind of the next wave of innovation. But it's going to present challenges that we haven't even thought of yet. So really, I'm excited for it. I had a conversation with my dad the other day, and I was kind of, we were talking about it because he was one of those people that when Bose released the big, headphone sunglasses back in, gosh, it was probably like 97 or 2000. He got that first pair, and I was always a little embarrassed, seeing him walking around with these things that looked like the Star Trek characters, visor glasses, or wow, I'm blanking on the names. The guy from X-Men, Cyclops, um, walking around, but he was able to get his music, and so he was like, "Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait!" And I'm like, I can't wait either, but enjoy the piece, while we have it, because I think once digital, kind of invades the world, it's not going to go away. This is going to permeate throughout society. It's going to be a paradigm shift. That and AI, I think AR and AI together have the potential to completely change how we interact on a daily basis, and, for better or for worse. And so I think it's important for us to be on the forefront of making sure that it's for better, because there's a lot of big companies that may have other motivations in what they're putting out. So definitely a thing to keep an eye on, and I think how the metaverse moves forward. Chainstack, can you hear us okay now? Are you
Yep, all good.
Are you good over
All
there?
good, thank you.
Sweet. So the question that we've now been talking on for a while is about the metaverse. If you didn't hear it, it's a kind of Spencer, if you want to repeat the precise question, you can. But to sum it up, it's kind of how the metaverse has changed over the past year and where we see the metaverse going forward.
Oh yeah, I mean that I'm more a Web3 kind of person, and so for the metaverse and the huge, as you guys mentioned as well, the, like, to me, insane kind of investments that were made by Meta, even renaming Facebook to Meta, and also and all of those trends, while they have not paid off, obviously, for Facebook, I think, I'm pretty sure. Uh, what you guys described in the past few minutes, I agree completely with this, and I think what's going on is going to kind of take over nature. It's not Zuckerberg with this funny face in kind of in VR. It's not in a way that's not. It's not going to be forced on us by corporate by like a huge company. But it's kind of slowly taken over by all the other innovations and technologies. Kind of slipping into our everyday life, and which is you know, you mentioned Pokemon Go, which I remember vividly. I think it was 10 years ago. Time flies, but I remember all the hype around this. And I remember me personally, being one of the first in line to download the app and to try it out. And and being someone not from the West, I was not, or from Asia, I was not into Pokemon at all. But this thing completely sucked me in, and I guess what I'm trying to say, the AI and AR being here, and the Web3 part being here as well, you kind of you're going to find yourself in the metaverse before you know it. If we go back again to the Pokemon Go example, if it's going to be some sort of a meta game where you just get onboarded into it naturally, you just you get this device and you start playing with this, and it's augmented reality or whatever. You go and catch, kind of, or find the creature. You start moving, around your neighborhood. You find the creature, and then all of a sudden, and then you kind of explore what else can you do with this thing. And turns out it's a digital asset that 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 you have complete ownership of, that you can go and actually swap for something else, which could be even USDT, or and all of a sudden you're kind of gently onboarded into this, which is today, when you think about it, I think it's a crazy complex metaverse kind of ecosystem where you have all of these technologies coming together, and it's not a thing that you need to learn, or learn as much, or it's not you don't need to learn it as much as you would need if you wanted to go to DeFi. It's not forced on you in the same sense that it was forced on by Facebook, and that's why it probably never took off. But in this gentle manner, kind of, you end up being in the metaverse, and you don't even know that the Web3 part of it is supported by by infrastructure providers like ChainStack, and this game is done by a company, and this AR is by someone else. You kind of find yourself in there. At least that's what I think. It's my take.
Just personal anecdote here. So I'm definitely, I kind of agree with Nick and or just all you guys in general. I'm definitely more excited for AR than VR, and just from like personal experiences, I've tried a number of VR devices and experiences and have never been that impressed. I've always, dealt with the nausea and things like that, but I've had numerous AR experiences, Pokemon Go being included, that I've just been honestly blown away by in multiple scenarios. And that, I don't know, kind of, that I feel like is an indication for me that I'm more excited for that and more looking forward to it. But yeah, one of the, and this was back in 2017 that I was blown away by this, and things will obviously get a lot better because that was a long time ago. But this was a museum in Barcelona. It was one of the one of the Gaudi houses, which is just this really famous architect in Barcelona. But they basically in AR on your phone, you could go and see all the furniture and different things in the house that no longer exist, but you could see how they originally were. through AR, and I thought that was just an amazing application of that. And that's a cool thing where if somebody has owns the land or owns like a cool property like that on over, then they could start to incorporate their own experiences into it. And it'd be cool to see things like that happen and more user generated things like that and experiences. But yeah, I'm just very, very excited for the future of AR and excited for the hardware to catch up and all that. But in terms of like kind of like full on like VR and metaverse and all that, like I do think that we need some like actual big names to create experiences. Like as much as I'd love for the little guy to win and be able to create experiences, I do think we need something like on the lines, I think of like Ready Player One, or like if any of you have seen, it was very corny and for kids, but the most recent Space Jam movie where they kind of just threw all of the Warner Brothers IP all in one space. And so something like that is kind of what I think will be a really breakthrough application where you have a brand like Disney, and they have all of their different IP in one place, and it's almost like an amusement park, but it's a digital amusement park, and you can go and experience it in VR. And that's like once something like that happens in VR, then I think I'd be excited about it. But I know there hasn't been anything, at least so far, that has really tickled my fancy in that way. Um, we still have about 10 minutes left, so want to have Chainstack have an opportunity to answer their individual question that we have for them here. So, Ake, that question is, how does infrastructure like what Chainstack is building enable Web3 game developers and improve the gaming experience for players?
Right. So the so there are two major types of. I mean, there are a lot of different types of games in Web3, which is you have on-chain, off-chain, play to earn, and other stuff. But Chainstack is there. Chainstack is actually a pretty boring company, right? I love doing. To me, it's extremely exciting. But to the end user, it's the excitement is probably on the same level as for AWS or GCP, Google Cloud. But under the hood, there is a lot of different mechanics that make the end users life better. And the if we do two major categories, one is not a full on-chain, but most of stuff is an on-chain game, and the other one is an off-chain game. Then the chain stack serves both, because again you just need the access to the blockchain network, like you need an Ethereum node to be able to actually interact with your assets or with an on-chain game itself, and you need the infrastructure for that, and there is a lot of detail nuance in there. For example, if you have a user base, which is, for example, you started in the US, and your user base is in the US first, but then and you need the for your Web3 part of your game, you need to provide the users with kind of the uniform experience in the sense that there is no latency, or there is as little latency as possible to all the users in the US. But then your game starts blowing up, for example, in Asia or in Latin America, or some other, or Europe, and you need to be able to quickly spin up or set up the infrastructure in there, because you want the guys in Europe or in Asia, your end users, to have the same little latency, or as little as possible to whatever on-chain actions you get in there, even if it's withdrawing is simple, even if it's as simple as withdrawing an asset as as your original user base in the And the only way to do this is with the infrastructure provider, like Chainstack, because the Web3 part, despite being there here, with us for 10 plus years, the software in there is still not it's still pretty rough, right? The nodes, they need a ton of maintenance, they need a lot of upgrades and all the other stuff, and they need to have setups on top of them like load balancing, uh, to make them actually be able to support, any project, even if it's a Web3 or a gaming project or a DeFi project. But for gaming again specifically, if the game is off chain, the it's a little lighter on the resource usage, which is basically, you probably need to follow the network to get the assets for for your players, to make sure the assets show up in their wallet. They are able to trade this, and all the other stuff. And if it's a non-chain game, then there is, as I believe Nick mentioned before, it becomes this kind of a hybrid environment where it's a game by itself, but then because it's an open system and it's, most of the actions are done on chain. Krabado, like, would be an example. When it first launched on Avalanche, we had Krabada spin up the nodes with us to be able to support the players, but we also had the players themselves come some and sign up, to our higher grade plans, not just the free ones, to be able to interact with this kind of open on-chain system or on-chain game in a way that's beneficial to them, which is really interesting as well. If you guys don't remember Krabada, I don't remember it in full either, but I think there was, kind of crab characters going on a journey and attacking each other, controlled by the players, and the crabs were represented, I believe, by NFT smart contract. And in this in the game itself, latency mattered. It was the more, the better infrastructure you have, the more beneficial it will be for you to spot an early opportunity to for your crab, I believe, to attack the other one or something like this, and you need very good infrastructure. So in this way, both the developers behind the game and the users themselves, they were kind of into this sort of thing, and getting the infrastructure. So whatever the future brings, depending on how, because the blockchain system is this kind of open system for everyone. The chain stack or just any good infrastructure provider can serve both the organization behind the developers behind the game itself and the user base separately as well. Which is really interesting, and which is something you don't see in Web2. You don't see people playing a PlayStation 5 game and getting a different. Well, you do see a similar thing probably if you get a better like PC hardware, or if you get a different console version, which is beefier. So you probably do actually see a similar thing. But yeah, that would be an analogy. So yeah, that's my take. Sorry, it was too long.
Oh, all good. Yeah, well, as you said, it might not be the most exciting for the end user, but we definitely thank you for all the work that you guys are doing and helping us, continue to build what we're building. So yeah, we absolutely need it. So before we close out here, we want to announce our giveaway winner. So the winner this week is Old White Dragon at Old White Dragon. Congratulations. I know that you already know how to claim your prize, but yeah, just send your Satoshiverse account info to the Satoshiverse account here, and send them a DM, and we'll make sure to get you your 5 Satoshi's crystals. And then Nick, I'll pass it back to you to close out.
Yeah, congrats OWD. Nice to see a familiar face take home the crystals this week. And for your sake, fellow Croatian who we had the pleasure of meeting when we were in Croatia very recently. So beautiful, beautiful country, by the way. So yeah, so let's wrap this up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just talk quickly about Legions for those who weren't here, and then open the floor to Over the Reality and Chainstack to give any kind of closing words, anything that you want to talk about, feel free. And then I'll wait about 30 seconds because there's a slight delay, and then I will end the spaces. For those, again, who have not played Legions 2029, what are you waiting for, right? It's a free game. It's totally free to play. I know there's a few of you who have Macs or different valid reasons for not having downloaded it yet. But for everybody else, you've got a free game with tons of work that's gone into building a really, really fun and engaging playthrough. There's tons of rewards. I don't know if you guys have seen the recent posts. We've got a leaderboard contest with NFT prizes, crystals as prizes, USDC as prizes. So really amping things up. And I have a feeling things are only going to get better later this year. We've got a lot of things in the works behind the scenes, but for now, getting in early, getting on those leaderboards early may or may not have advantages. So, jump in, check it out. It's again, free to play game. Very fast paced, lots of action. You don't have to be a gamer to enjoy it. Although gamers, tend to excel in it. Because I always get my butt whooped by the couple gamers that are in this spaces who are constantly setting high scores. But yeah, let's give it a download, check it out. If you haven't already followed the Hideout account, please do. We're going to be doing this every week. And as we have now, for the past year and a half. And we're just excited to keep bringing you guys great content, get great speakers. Thank you so much to the speakers. Thank you, Over the Reality, specifically for being willing to jump on stage last minute. I'm glad you were here. We had 2 speakers drop from this one, so it was a little bit unorthodox, but Chainstack as well. Thank you so much for all of your input. I know we asked a little more of you than we had originally said because we wanted to get a little more in depth on this stuff, but look at that. We managed to fill the hour easily, and it was a great conversation. So thank you so much for giving time out of your busy schedules. Thank you to all the listeners who are here live listening to this. It keeps us going. It keeps our speakers happy and allows us to get great guests. So please continue to show up and enjoy the content. And, now that we have the Hideout account, feel free to DM it. Feel free to drop things in the comments. We always are trying to improve. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know. But now I am going to shut up and I'm going to pass it over to Chainstack for a quick outro, and then Over the Reality, and then we'll close up the spaces.
All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks a lot. And thank you guys for doing this space as well. I really enjoyed this. So for anyone listening to this, if you want to go and get your own node, just sign up with Chainstack. It's free on the developer plan. You can you can sign up with Twitter or GitHub. You don't even need to provide a credit card. And if you want to build a very, very simple kind of on-chain game, we have tutorials for this as well on the running blockchain. Go to docs.chainstack.com, and with a little bit of Python, or you can just copy code, you can get your actually your own on-chain game just to try it out. It's not for production, obviously, but as a developer experience guy, I suggest you guys go and do this. And if you're not that familiar with blockchain, you'll be more familiar with some of the parts of it. Yeah, thank you guys.
All right. Really good to hear from you, Chain Stack. I must say the Hideout and Satoshi Verse. I believe this is one of my favorite spaces and safe spaces. The reason why I say this is because I love, 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 love that there is Nick behind Satoshi Verse, I believe, and who has been a lawyer or is a lawyer. And I love that we get the legal perspective. People underestimate the importance of legality, especially when it comes to like legality, period. There's that saying about startups. Anytime you want to start up anything, two entities you need to have on board: legal and marketing. 100%. That's my belief anyway. And I love that Satoshi Versnick provides that, because he really gives food for thought, especially for people who are listening in, thinking about, any type of project, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3. You definitely need a legal perspective, because you do not want to get caught in the bind after you have spent a whole bunch of fiat or dollars or crypto in a certain project. With that said, this is, thank you for inviting us up. We don't know where technology will take us, but we as humans definitely know that we will be able to utilize it in the way that we do. When it comes to Web3 gaming, let's not forget there's always these inherent human behaviors, regardless of what we get thrown at us, whether it's AI, AR, whatever new tech or hardware device. There is always that need to connect and be heard and be respected. And I feel like now that we have the opportunity to all speak and join in one another, I think this is great. Let's all just respect each other in where we go, and just continue doing us, I guess, and for the positive. I do want to give a shout out to Swiss Verse and Open Metaverse, because they've been avid supporters over the reality. And I did pin up two things here, because you guys were talking about, the adoption of the metaverse and Web3 and all that. And I think it was, I forgot his name, the Hideout, Spencer. Was it Spencer? Saying that, we're going to need somebody big, a big entity or corporation like Disney to onboard. And yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's probably true. But I did pin up something, because over the reality in 2022, I believe, or early 2023, we were in Milan, and we actually partnered with Pet Liger and not Gucci, Balmain, and a whole bunch of other designers, and we created an augmented reality catwalk over their very famous Piazza del Duomo, and you could see that. And we also had the participation of one of the Bored Apes. So you could see actually how over the reality's visual positioning system was able to upload augmented reality assets in a specific location. But so anyway, if you guys have any questions at all, do follow the speakers up here. Follow over the reality. Do send us a DM. It's Carmen at Digital Femme, throwing out the purple hearts. I'm the one that's behind the over account, and we'd be happy to onboard you or answer any questions. We are doing a map to earn opportunity right now. So just DM us if you want for more information. Thank you, the Hideout and Satoshi Verse.
Thank you, and Swiss, great to see you in the audience. Me and Swiss actually go way, way back to the early Decentraland days when I first came into the space. So, small world, definitely good to see you. And this is Nick Clark Kent, Decentraland name for those who might go back as well. But yeah, really, really great to have everybody on. I'm going to wrap up the spaces now, and we will be back next week, same time, same place. Great to have you on. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.